Thank you for staying for my presentation and not leaving the room. Our presentation is Our Mind is Formed Outside of Our Body. After 1.5 years of total nightmare at medical school studying anatomy in Latin, 15 years later, I, to my surprise, discovered that picture that was given to us was incomplete. And the whole chapter on vibrational anatomy was not in our textbooks. Today, they will talk about anatomical vibrational structures, chakras, that I call energy centers. Energy centers are very complex and intriguing system. Nobody knows how they work. I am neither a physicist nor neurophysiologist. I am a practitioner who trying to find how to use coded information in these structures for our benefits. Because knowledge about chakras, energy system, energy centers is so enhancing our understanding, our place in the world, our role in the life, to play, how our mind works, gives us understanding of ourselves and other people. I want to share a few aspects of my vision of on this mesmerizing system. We know that we learn about the world through our ordinary senses. But we have another system accessing information in us, which is generally not taken into consideration. This system consists of 7 energy centers and chakras, and we can visualize them as vibrational ice cream cones. Yes, with the tip origins, actual energy centers going inside of the part of energy highway that starts from the top of the head, runs inside the head, and runs along the spine. Each energy center comes out from our body into the energy field, aura, I call energy field. How far they go into, it's information, important. With training, we can detect the size of diameters when these cones coming from inside out, and we can measure these diameters on a level of the skin. Diameters varying between different people and with the same person too. It could be from almost non-existing to 25 inches. Each energy center is a two-way system. Each of them works as a receiver and a transmitter. We are surrounded by the ocean of information that coded in vibrations. And also we can, I prefer to use not ocean of vibrations, but I call it cosmic hologram, based on David Bohm's idea of holographic nature of the world. We can also imagine each energy center as a radio station tuned into specific range of vibrations. The clearer the receiving of the signals, the more accurate information our brain will get. The accuracy depends on the development of radio station, how well energy center is developed. And it's shown for us in a size of diameter, which is easy to stick with. What is very interesting even to mention, that the quality of vibrations that each energy centers filters for us from this ocean of information and deliver to us somehow, don't ask how, have no idea, but it's already forming our answer to this information, shaping our nature, which means we think this way and not that way because of the development of our energy centers. As a transmitters, they bring information about us into the vibrational world of subtle energy, where these vibrations go into cosmic hologram and stored there forever. Forever. We carry enormous genetic code in us. I believe that energy centers carry the genetic code of who we were at the end of our previous life, and with birth, we come with the specific abilities, predispositions, liabilities coded in our energy centers that are carrying the program of who we are as human beings. And never mind how we content with life this time, either we improve this program or we fall down. This corrected program will be passed without any excuses into the next try. Every book on chakras tells us, almost every book, tells us, and people would not agree with me, but sorry, tells us that each chakra channeling energy into geographically related organs and endocrine gland related to the chakra. Meaning that if chakra is malfunctioning, organs will be malfunctioning too. And vice versa. If organs become sick, it will affect function of the chakra. How information goes through time and becomes definite knowledge, sometimes it's a big puzzle. And we tend not to question this information because they, experts, know better than we do. It took for me 10 years, 10 years of realizing that this statement is wrong. And only because of the routine in my office. When a new patient was coming to me, my goal was how to make this person healthier, more balanced, and his or her life easier. To evaluate health, I was using holographic method of getting information from so-called holograms of their organs, evaluating the quality of vibrations coming from these holograms. I can tell later more. But to understand who came to me and if this person had unbalance, to be able to help with life, I needed evaluation of the 7 major centers. That was my method of getting idea of the nature of the person and how person was dealing with life. And these 2 charts I had always in front of my nose. But I remember that woman who came to me, I started my routine. It was almost 20 years ago. And every chakra of hers was very well developed, which is unusual picture. It's very pleasant, unusual picture. But when I came to her heart condition, it came out that heart was in failing almost. Felt water in her lower lobes of both lungs. 2 arteries were almost blocked, and big scar tissue from previous big heart attack. And it suddenly struck me because she should have not had that well developed energy center. Number 4, with Chantal or without Chantal?
has 15 minutes left for you.
Okay. So it was a beginning of me paying attention. And there is no direct connection between a condition of chakras and organs. Indirect, yes, but it's a different story. I don't have another 15 minutes, unfortunately, to tell you. But our physical condition depends on our genetic predispositions, our lifestyle, our environment, many other factors. And like any other physiological system in us that plays a special role, energy centers playing also special role in forming us as human beings. As a medical doctor with specialization in acupuncture, you had to be a medical doctor to become acupuncturist in Russia in my time. And then more and more getting into subtle energy, I kind of developed disturbing puzzle for myself that I was not able to answer. How come that Chinese medicine, with its intriguing, incredible map of roads with 2,000 acupuncture points, doesn't mention energy centers, chakras? Took me 10 years also, but after I got this real role of chakras in us, the answer came naturally and easy. To be a medical doctor in ancient China was a very dangerous profession. And if patient died, especially from being upper class of society, doctor could be killed too. To make situation even worse and more difficult, doctors were not allowed to undress patients. They had to use for whatever was available for observation, nails, tongue, eyes, part of skin, wrists. So we can imagine how determined they were to come up with the best solution in this deadly situation. So I am absolutely sure that those who were able to see energy came up with this incredible map of acupuncture. Other legends and stories do not work for me. It must be somebody who was clairvoyant. And, and this system reflects how energy works in our physical body. People were dying from physical elements, not from who they were, how they were thinking about life, but from physical elements. And this is why chakras didn't reveal themselves. We get what we're asking for. Let's look at energy centers as a blueprint, as how each of us turns out to be a human being and how we deal with life. If we know what each center is responsible for and how to evaluate the development of that center, we have incredible tool for getting understanding people. And in this case, we decreasing enormous stress in our life being around people. Sooner or later, all of us getting into problems, not knowing what to expect from people. So let's talk about each energy center. I can tell you that each of them multifunctional and responsible for development of specific side of our nature. I will use a description that is known and a little bit of my observation. Let's do just the front. Number one is center of practicality. How we're able to deal with live in the present moment. How we're able to organize our professional and daily life. It's in dealing with the lowest frequencies of vibrations. If this center is underdeveloped, then person experience a problem of concentration. It's difficult for person to start and finish. If it's too large, it reflects powerful necessity for person to have material possessions, and some kind of inclination for mapping out every next action in life, and being suffocated with this amount of details, not only himself, herself, but people around too. So let's go to second one. It's the center of sexuality, how we feel ourselves being woman, man, if we feel sexual desires, and any unbalance could create problems, any unbalance. Number 3 is a center of stamina for life. It's a center of courage, how we able to deal with problems in our life head on or trying to avoid them. It's a center of willpower, ambitions, and self-esteem. What else? As I said, they are multifunctional. All negative emotions have roots in this center. This is the center where they are born. And we all have negative emotions. It's a matter how we're controlling them. So if center is underdeveloped, then person has excessive amount of worries and fears, and nothing could be more damaging than fears. A person is uncertain about himself, herself, easily to hurt, and if it's a small, really small center, it's a predisposition for clinical depression. If it's too large, then self-esteem is blown out of proportion, controlling issues, excessive anger, judgmental issues, and arrogant behavior toward other people. Number 4 is the center of our love and compassion. It's a center of how we're able to help people, how we're able to forgive and understand their weaknesses and mistakes. If this center is underdeveloped, we're dealing with self-centered people with all mentioned above abilities diminished. It can't be too big, because how could it be too much of love and kindness? Number 5, it's a center of creativity in a most general term. How we're able to find creative solutions for myriad problems in our daily and professional life. It's a center of communication skills. It's a center of sensitivity. How we're able to sense nuances coming from busy, noisy outside world. It's a center of our flexibility, how we're able to adjust to new circumstances. It's a center of what else? Center of lightness in life, sense of humor, generosity, and it's a center of high emotions. Third one is negative emotions. This one is a high emotions. How we're able, if we're able, it gives us opportunity to be able to experience joy coming from non-material things. If it's too small, then people are very rigid. It's very difficult to keep dialogue with them. They will never admit that they are wrong. And all fanatics of all kinds do not have this an energy center developed. Number 6 is a center of intuition. How we are able to get straight into the cosmic hologram with information about past, present, and future without our chain of analysis, and what if it's well developed? Sorry, if it's well developed, it definitely guides us to the right opportunities, helps to avoid mistakes and detours. If we don't have this center developed, then unfortunately we have only logic that will never be able to predict what is around the corner. Number 7, the last one, is a crown chakra, which predetermines our state of consciousness, which means, as a result, how we see our role in the world, in our life, how we see and proceed, how we're able to see ourselves as a part of the bigger picture. This center conducts every thought and action in us, what we can do and what we even cannot think about doing. It shapes our moral and ethical values. With life, almost all of us, probably 99.99%, become more or less conditioned. And that affects our ability to see things as they are. And we see it through biased upbringing. So this center predetermines the level of immunity to conditioning and ability to see things as they are. The last thing to say about energy centers, that 1, 2, 3 is always bigger than the rest, because 1, 2, 3 is responsible for survival abilities, and the rest are bonuses. Bonus to become kind and thoughtful about others. Bonus to be moral and ethical. Bonus to be creative, to want to change the world and bring beauty. Everything from this bonus part requires extra time to spend in its development that is taking from survival things. And it's evolutionary like that. It continues like that too, because nobody unfortunately counseled for us to be warriors to survive. So number 7 fits into a special category among all of them. Unfortunately, it's never well developed among majority of people. Just to say a couple more things, that coming to Canada, I was determined to study and work with subtle energy in a professional way. I had some knowledge about subtle energy. I had foundation to be a medical doctor, but it became not enough. With time, I realized that I had to come up with a system that would enable me to understand people better in spite of my very primitive language, and give me opportunity to see if there was any unbalance to be able to help people. So I started to, first of all, I had to solve the puzzle, what is behind different sizes of diameters. And on volunteers from my family, I was measuring every chakra, but it was too awkward to do even for them. And so I came up with a holographic method, because how energy centers would look on a hologram of people. At that time, I was using holograms only evaluating health. But in Russia, from day number 1, when I got into the laboratory, and my teacher, who was the head of the laboratory founded by Ministry of Space, who was a physicist, and Dr. Vadim Polyakov, involved me with excessive experiments of evaluating health condition of people, without talking and seeing them. Just quality of vibrations coming from holographic forms of their organs. which proved to be working perfectly well. So I became fascinated with this method from day number one. And so I decided to try. And I came up with subtle energy profiling that I cannot have, I don't have time to explain how to do it, but it's working with energy centers using holograms of people. And how to do them, it's in my book, Subtle Energy Information to Enhance, Heal, and Guide. And we put quite a lot of subtle energy profiles on our Instagram of Strashun Institute, just people to know. This is to know what could be, what can we get from this method of understanding of people. And this is, I was using energy structures, energy centers as a structures where our mind is formed successfully in my 20 years of practice and 20 years of my daily life.